Dumelang, you loyal people, you. Thank you so much for the subscriptions, for the love, for the comments, for the messages, for some of you who got the unfair advantage of messaging me, for the calls, you guys. I'm very thankful. Thank you so much for encouraging me, for giving me hope. I am really, really honored. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much for staying here with me, you guys. Very, very great stories are coming. I've got very great stuff in store for us. This is going to be amazing. I have got amazing stories coming up by amazing people. I can assure you, you are going to be inspired. You are going to be hopeful. You are going to be encouraged. You are going to cry and laugh. We are going to feel all kinds of emotions. We are not going to pretend. So do not forget to write to me if you would like to share your story, if you think that you can inspire somebody, or if you think there's just a healing that needs to happen in here, you know, and you just want to release. This is the place for that. No judgment. We are just going to listen and we will take it from there. So do come through, do email me, do send me a message, do leave a comment, whatever. Let's just do this thing. So I was thinking, you guys know that Corey is a pain in the neck at the moment, right? So due to Corey, there's been a delay with filming, with the interviews, you guys. I am so sad, just as you are. I'm looking forward to talking to you people. I cannot wait. But you guys, Corey. So I was thinking, what do I want to tell you this week? I've pretty much told you what the show is going to be about, how we're going to run the show. So what should I tell you today? Right? And then it hit me. It literally just went straight here. And I was like, what kind of a shepherd would I be to let the flock go first, to be led by the flock? Do you understand? So as a shepherd, as a leader, I must go first. So which means you're not going to come here and tell your stories where you don't know my story. So I must be the first one to share with you my story. So in this video, we're just going to take a journey together into my story. All right, let's go childhood. I was born in Zanin, in Bulawayo. I started school there. I grew up there. Zanin is home. I mean, it's home. It's still home. It's always been home. I don't understand your people. Johannesburg is home. But Zanin is home. It's still home even today. I'm married. Home is supposed to be down, but Zanin is still home. My parents are still legally married, but they have been separated since I was 4. None of them remarried, but my father has had, I'll say, a permanent girlfriend, not the one that moves in and they have another child type of vibes. Yes. My mother has had her own boyfriends as well, but none that we've ever stayed with. So, they visit for like an hour or so, or my mom would visit them. They've never slept in our house. I've never stayed in a house with a man. Well, I did for like a month elsewhere, not with my biological parents. My father was emotionally and physically abusive to my... I don't think I was ready for this. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place in here. I told myself I was not gonna cry. Jokes. My father was emotionally and physically abusive to my mom. distant memories of when my parents were still together. I mean, they separated when I was 4, but I still have images of some of the abuse, which is weird. I was about 3 or 4 when all of this happened, but I still remember some things. I still have images of some things. And my mom left. In fact, she ran away. And my father wouldn't allow my mother to take us. So when my mother would send the police to come and fetch us, my father would run away with us, me and my sisters. I remember how my first sister, so there's 3 of us from my mom's side, 3 girls, and then there's, well, I mean, mom and dad, and then there's 5 girls from my dad's side. So that means my dad also has other kids from different people. Um, so I remember how my first sister, how she left. My mom asked if she could bring a blanket for her. And my dad allowed my older sister to take the blanket to my mom. And that's how my sister left. She never came back. So the 2 of us, the middle sister and I'm the last one in the equation. So the 2 of us, my dad took us. I remember he traveled with us from Zanin to Alex, and we stayed with my dad for a while. My mom found out that we were in Zanin. She sent a car to come and fetch us, to steal us, basically, when my dad was at work. And when the car came, I was not at home. So my older sister was there, and that's how she left. So I was left with my dad. I stayed with my dad for a couple of months. He would take me to crèche. He would fetch me. Sometimes he would fetch me very late when all the kids were gone, and I'd be there sleeping with the teachers, and he'd fetch me in the evening. He'd carry me home. I've spent so many nights as a little girl in the Shabin there at Alex, with my dad. I was that girl moving from one lab to another. Everyone like, give me kind here, buying me things. We'd go home late at night from the Shabin. My dad was a drunk. I think there's only a few times that I've seen my dad sober in my life. And I think that alcohol has taken so much of his time and has made him lose so much in his life, and has so much destroyed him. And I think so much of his failures in life really have something to do with his own childhood traumas, with his own demons, whatever he was running away from, that he found comfort in alcohol. My dad had potential. When they say someone has potential, you'd hear other elder members of the family saying, Papa, yo, Papa Talifile. Your dad was very smart, he was intelligent, he could have been, should have been. But never happened. And so my mom left. My mom left him, and there's a lot of bitterness and a lot of anger and resentment issues against my dad. And we've had so many bad stories about him from my mom. But my mom never kept us away from him. But she'd tell us stories of what he did to her, of how she would never get back together with him. And no matter how many bad stories I'd hear of him, I could never hate him. because those few months that I spent with him meant so much for me. I could never forget those few months when I had him, when I had a father. I could never forget. I could never forget. I could never forget how he bathed me and took me to crèche and fetched me even though it was late. But that experience could never be taken away from me. So when my mom finally took me, we saw less and less of him. He would do things for us whenever he wanted to. If he didn't want to, he wouldn't. I guess it's also the bitterness, also the anger that he has towards my mom. Just, I think we became part of something that we were not supposed to be a part of in the first place. He would just do things whenever he wanted to, buy us clothes whenever he wanted to. If he didn't, and my mom got a job at the farms. She worked at the farm, and she made ends meet. She made it work. My mom is the most strongest woman that I know. She's so strong. She's amazing. Yo, something about her strength, about her aura that's just unavoidable. How I don't know how my mom did it. I mean, in the farms, at some point she earned 1,000, like a K. I don't know how she made ends meet with a K. So at some point, I asked to move to Johannesburg. I was staying in the villages, and those kids that come back during holidays. I was envying those kids, guys. I wanted to be like those kids that come back home during holidays. And I was like to my mom, I want to move to Johannesburg, and my mom was like, "It's gonna take care of you." I was like, "I'm gonna move in with my aunt." I had a whole plan, and my aunt was like, "Come through, it's okay." So I wanted to just be one of the cool kids. I moved in with my aunt. Didn't work out. Moved in at my uncle's place, paternal uncle. Didn't work out. So before I moved in with my uncle, my paternal uncle, before I moved into his house, well, because he passed on, I stayed with my dad and my stepmom. I think I stayed with them for 3 months, and then she left. My father, he didn't know how to do better and be better and get better. So he did to my stepmom what he did to my mom. He emotionally and physically abused her. I remember I was in grade 6 when I stayed with them. And my stepmom, she said, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave your dad. Because he's abusive. And she said, when I leave, I want you to go to your aunt and tell them that I left and they will take you in. I did not go to school. I went to the clinic. She was home. It was her off day. So when I said I'm going to the clinic, she said I must take the key. I said, but you are home. She said, no, just take the key. Maybe I might go out. And when I came back from the clinic, she was gone. She had taken all her things. I opened the door and the house was empty. When I left, I had a home. I was gone for 2 hours and I came back to nothing. I called my mom. I told my mom what had happened. Uh, my mom called my dad. My dad came home after work, and so my mom had already started making calls to my aunts and to my uncle's wife to ask her if I could move in with them for just the rest of that academic year, and then I'll come home the following year. And they let me in. I remember my dad came home from work that day and he said I shouldn't worry. He will he said he will sort things out. See, my stepmom, when she met my dad, he practically had nothing, I think. So she bought, the fridges, the everything that we needed in the home to make the house feel like a home. So when she left, she took her things. So my dad said, no, I shouldn't worry. He'll buy the fridges, he'll buy the whatever that we need, and I will move back in with him. He said it's only temporary that I'm moving in with my uncle's wife, but he will make things right and I will move back in with him. But it never happened. So I stayed there for a while and things did not work out. So I had to move back in with the aunt that I was supposed to stay with in the first place. Went back there. Now I'm starting high school. I stayed with my aunt and my cousins for 3 years. Again, I had to leave. My mom asked my uncle, my maternal uncle now, if I could move in with him so that I could just finish my matric. I moved in at my uncle's place. I think I stayed there for 3 weeks and it didn't work out. And in this process, my mom kept on saying, come home, come home. I just could not go home. You know, when God has a plan, it doesn't make sense at that time, but when God is working things out and he knows what he's doing and he's got everything figured out, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. But ultimately it will. I remember when I left my uncle's place, I was now in grade 11. I think it was the beginning of the academic year. It was in Jan. And I had nowhere to go. And I was walking with a friend of mine and she was saying, I have to go home, it's late. Where are you gonna go? And as we were walking, we met Ma. Ma is the mother of a friend of mine who we had separated, I think, a few years earlier when she went back home to Mokopane. But for some reason, I kept on visiting Ma. And that day, I met her and she greeted us and she went past. And after she went past, something in me just, I don't know. I said, Ma, can I come sleep at your house tonight? And I will leave tomorrow. And Ma said, of course, come home, we'll talk. I went to my friend's house where my bags were. And I took my bags and went to Ma's house. When I arrived at Ma's house, I remember it was around 7 p.m. I walked into the gate and I just fell down and I cried. Yes. And Ma came out. She said, Kimang. And then she saw me lying there on the ground. And she picked me up. She took me into the house and she said, what's going on? I said, I was staying with my uncle. This and this happened, so I had to leave. But now I'd have to go back to my uncle's place because I don't have a place to stay. And in all of this, I had not told my mom what's going on. So my mom thought that I was still at my uncle's place. I didn't want to hurt my mom. I didn't want to break my mom. You know, every time I went home for school holidays, you could see the relief. You could hear the relief in my mom's voice that I was home. And Ma said, does your mom know where you are right now? I said, no. She said, go buy airtime. Ma said, nka se re o robale mo today ka boshigo ke re tsamaya ke sa tsebe gore o ya kae. She said, ka boshigo e nka kry-a ba o bolaile ba o latlhile ke tlo kwa botlhoko. So room ya Lindishi, Lindi hayo, Lindu hayo, beto wa Lindishu. Wena from today o tlo ba ngwana ka mo hae. Beto e tlo ba wa hao, o tlo ba o tshwana le Lindi, o tlo ba ya sekolong, wa tlhatswa dikotlolo, wa kolomaka, wa ba ngwana wa ka. And she said, let's buy airtime and call your mom. She called my mom. She told my mom that she was with me and what was going on. And she said to my mom, so I'm taking her in. It was on a Wednesday. On Sunday, my mom came to Johannesburg to meet Ma, to talk to Ma. And she said to Ma, I'll send money every month for food. And Ma said, le ge ngwana o ntla sa dule re ne be re ja. Nte re tla e jang ka mo re tla ja le ena. Tla ba ngwana ka mo hae. And that's how Ma took me in. Most of you who know me personally, you always hear me saying I have 3 moms. That's how Ma became my second mom. That's how Ma became family. Ma goes to my home in Limpopo. The whole family goes. We go to Ma. Ma is family. Ma is blood. So I did my matric staying with Ma. Got a bursary. Went to university. Ma is still Ma. When I went to university, Ma, she gave me everything I needed, from bedding, pots, groceries. She said, I've got you. And my mom was worried. She's saying, what do we need to buy? And Ma said, don't worry, I'll sort it out. Now, my third mom was my teacher. So, because Ma stayed in a squatter camp and we did not have electricity, when I was in matric, my principal thought saw it fit that I move in with her, with my mom, mommy. We call her mommy, with mommy, so that I can have access to whatever that I need, the resources that could help me study and do well. In my high school years, yes, I was smart, and the teachers loved me because I was one of the intelligent kids. But I became the school's project. I became the teacher's project. I became, you buy her this, you buy her that. How can we help her? And I'm grateful to all my teachers, to everyone. So I moved in with mommy. That was the first time that I stayed in a house with a man. But that did not last long. They also had their own fair share of troubles. Mommy and daddy. So daddy left. Daddy left, I think, a month after I started staying with them. All I've heard about men is that men are bad. They leave you. They are not strong. They can't handle a strong woman. And all of this I heard from these strong women who I call my mothers. All of them have sowed a seed of strength in me, a seed of independence in me. And somehow their strength happens to also manifest itself negatively in my life. In the relationships that I've had, I've always had to be the strong one, you know, and I've always had to be independent. And I've always had to be the strong one, the independent one, the fixer. And if you don't do what I want, bye. I don't need you. I'm a strong woman. I don't need a man. I don't want a man. I'm K-Nash. That's how I've always been in my relationships. We do things at my own terms when I want. If I don't want, bye. You know? Because my mothers have taught me that I can make it alone, that I am enough, that I am beautiful, I am smart, I can make it, I don't need a man, I don't want a man. And that has messed up so much of my relationships. It's still something that I'm still working on, even in my marriage. I think when we started, I was I'm K-Mesh. I'm K-Mesh. You don't tell me, you know? And I think right now, because I'm aware of my issue, I try to be aware of it and work around it, right, love? He said yes. um the absence of my father in my life has hurt me so much, and every time when I needed him and he wasn't there for me and he said hurtful things to me, I became more and more angry and resentful against him, not only him but men. And I leaned more towards the strength of my mothers. But still, in that, subconsciously, unaware, I've been attracting men that are like my father. I used to tend to date men with issues. With issues, I mean like my father, who has the potential, but alcohol, physical abuse, you know, and I tried to fix them. And I wasn't aware that I'm trying to fix my father. So I tend to attract projects because I'm trying to fix my father. So I moved from one relationship to the next, one bed to the next, trying to fill the gap of the absence of my father and trying to feel wanted, you know, from all the homes that were supposed to be home, but I never could find a home, and I had to move from one home to the next, and I felt rejected and unloved. So I moved from relationship to relationship, trying to fill that gap, trying to feel loved, to feel wanted. I've been with guys who did not love me, didn't want me. They wanted to use me, and I gave all of me. I gave so much of me so that they could love me. I did things that I did not want to do so that they could love me, to make them happy, to make them see that I could be what they want. I've had sex with people when I didn't want to because I wanted them to love me. And that has now messed up my relationship with sex to date. The absence of my father, no matter how strong I am, and I think I never needed him, my mother was strong for me anyway. We need our fathers. We need our fathers. But I'm carrying that strength. Even today, I still haven't sat down with my father and tell him that he's hurt me. In fact, a week ago, my father was sick, and when they called me to tell me that he's sick, I cried and I said to my husband, I think my father is dying and I am not ready to tell him. And here's why. Because I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to break him. So you know what I do? I tell myself that I'm strong. I can take it. It's okay. I'm strong. I can take it. So I guess maybe what I'm trying to say with this is give you a brief overview of what the absence of my father has done to me and what the strength of the mother has done to me. Kids, I had my first born child when I was doing second year of law. So I did law for 4 years. In my second year of law, I fell pregnant. Um, my mothers, all of them, they were not happy, but I think they were so proud of me that it was just one mistake in all the other good things that I've done in my life. So they accepted easier. Graduated from law, beautiful, beautiful. I had my second baby when I was doing my honors in drama and film. So graduated from law, tried to work for the year, applied for jobs, didn't get any. I worked for a while, but it wasn't my thing. So I left and I followed passion. So I went home to the villages and I did some work with young people. Did something that set my soul on fire, empowered those young people for that year. And the following year, I went back to school to study honors in drama and film. I did it over 2 years part-time. In the first year, I fell pregnant. Different father now, my husband. And when I found out I was pregnant, I fell down and I cried. I said, God, what are you trying to do? What is this? No, you can't. What are you doing? Oh my God, it's like I could remember that voice. You know, he said to me, even though you got yourself into this, I will get you out. And he said, embrace it and trust that I will sort your life out. Oh God. You know, God is loving. I don't know why we do this thing of portraying God as this figure who's waiting to punish us and beat us. God is loving. He was so kind. But now I had to go home and tell my mom that I'm having another baby. That was not easy. In fact, I wrote a short story about that. And I want to read it to you and we'll sum that up like that. Before I read it, I just want to say None of my children were planned. It was just one of those, God, do your thing, man. I trust you. Don't fall pregnant. Just God, just please, God, man. You know. But hey, so I'm gonna read you that story, and yeah, let's just read it. That morning, I couldn't eat anything. Well, it was common that I could not eat in the mornings since the time we found out. There is power in knowing new information. Somehow, certain things do not affect you unless you know something new. Breakfast affected me badly. I knew I had to take care of myself that day before my trip. I did not want to embarrass myself in the taxi. Taxi drivers are rude. They would make a show out of my disgrace. And so I chose not to eat. But I was also nervous, which did not help the situation at all. I packed my bag that morning, but without the enthusiasm that I normally had when I traveled home. It was different. I was different. I was scared, but I knew that I had to do it for my sake and the sake of others. I left the house feeling so heavily burdened, but I had to soldier on. I had to be strong, not only for myself, but for other human beings. And so I left. I went past the supermarket and bought myself sweets, enough for the road. I also bought an ultra milk custard to sustain my sugar levels. I could feel that I was running out of energy, and it was leaving my body rapidly. Sugar being sugar gave me the energy and the comfort that I needed. I normally sleep when I travel to my village because I have traveled that same road too many times that I am familiar with both sides of the road. But that day, I could not sleep. It was just impossible to sleep. I was not even as hungry as I thought I'd be when we reached the garage for our first and only stop. I only went to the bathroom for a minute to breathe and sigh out loud. I needed to make sure that I was still alive and that this was my life and that it was about to change drastically. I bought myself a bottle of flavored water. I probably chose by the color of the sticker as opposed to the flavor. Who cares about flavor when your life is sour? No one, right? I would love to believe so. I also bought a pack of biltong because, well, real food was nothing I could swallow. Off we went as we passed Mudimulle and all those weird looking yet intriguing mountains of the north. And the whole time, I thought about how I was going to break the news to my mother. Should I tell my sister first, or tell my sister to tell my mother? Or should I send my mother a message as I am traveling? What should I do? How should I do it? Should I even do it? Thoughts of chickening out filled my nervous being, and it made more sense. I thought I could perhaps sleep a few more days before breaking the news to anyone. However, the news was the only reason I was traveling home. They had to hear my news, no matter how sour they were. They were the only people that deserved to hear my news. I was going to break my mother. I was going to break her heart. My mother did not deserve this from me. How can I do this to her? I have failed. I am a failure. I began to judge myself. I prosecuted myself even before I made it to the judge. It was as if I knew my verdict and my sentence. And even if I didn't, I was willing to accept whatever the court was to render as its final judgment. I made a conscious decision that no matter what they say, I will not question them. I was not going to defend myself or justify myself. I was going to allow them their moment, the same way I afforded myself to process my news. I felt like I left with dreams and ambitions, and yet I brought back disappointment and failure to my people. I didn't feel like my dreams had failed, no. It felt like my life had failed. Suddenly, here we are in Zanin. I was welcomed by our very warm weather as though it wasn't winter. As it is tradition, I first went into the mall to buy things for the kids and the family. At least that part of me was still intact. I felt like everybody in the mall could see my shame and embarrassment. When I bumped into people that knew me, I felt like they saw what a failure I had become and that they probably rejoiced. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't rejoice. but I was insecure with myself, with being myself. Finally, here I am riding to the deep villages of the north. I have come a long way bearing my shame. I think I could carry it a little while longer into my grandmother's house. I walked home as I saw my sisters and nephews walk towards me to help me carry. This experience was altogether heavy. I laughed with the kids the way I normally did, but my heart was pumping heavy. I wanted to cry and never stop crying, but I also wanted to get home. I wanted my people. I needed my people. In as much as I was bringing these news home to them, I needed them to have my news because I needed help carrying my news. My daughter stood by the gate and smiled at me. What have I done? I looked at her and I felt tears pile up in my eyes, but I tried so hard to silence the pain in my heart. Her little smile brought so much condemnation. Home being home is warm, kind, and welcoming. My mother still had the same loud voice that just brightened your whole life. She gave me a kiss like she does every time I come home and ordered people to give me food because that is my mother. No matter my news and shame, that is my mother. That evening, we all gathered by the fire and began laughing about this and that. I was still not free because there was an elephant in my subconscious that needed to be addressed. A few hours later, my sister ran to the house to watch something on the TV. I was left with my mother and my daughter. I asked my daughter to leave because I wanted to talk to my mother. She's only 3. She needed not leave because she still would not get what I was saying. But I couldn't say it in front of her. I thought about how to begin. I wanted a way that was simpler, and I guess that made the news less disappointing. I decided that either way, there is no better way to say it. How do you tell your mother, who looks up to you and sees you as her star, that you are pregnant for the second time outside of the wedlock, without a job and still studying? And so I just said, Mom, I have not seen my parents in a few months. And that is titled The News. The end. You guys, thank you so much for listening to me. I hope that, I don't know what I hope. Well, that's my story. Clearly, there's a lot of healing that still needs to take place in here. And this show is relevant and this show is important. And yeah, so I'm here. The show is here. Do write to me. We are looking forward to hearing from you, to helping you heal. So, hey, I've got my tissue. Get your tissue. Let's go.